I'm Kathy, the Celtic Mink, from Celtic Mink Comments, because Grandma got a YouTube channel. Anyway, I want to talk about the news. So, yesterday I posted a raw, angry, 5-minute post about the treatment of President Zelensky in the office of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, the two most powerful men in the world. And they were tag teaming, picking on him, yelling at him, telling him that he should be grateful for the United States giving him not equipment, but money. That he needed to pay us back. He needed to sign that peace treaty with Russia, no matter the conditions, no matter the reasons, because Putin said he wanted peace, because Trump says Putin wanted peace. So, except Mr. Zelensky wants peace with security, knowing that Russia is not going to reinvade his country again after they've had time and money to build their forces back up. So, Mr. Putin's puppets, our president and our vice president, tried to make the argument that Mr. Zelensky wasn't grateful enough to our government for supporting him and his country in this war. Now, a quick Google will show you that Mr. Zelensky has thanked the United States at least 25 times during Trump's first administration and second administration, yet he's only been in office 5 weeks. And here, from The Art of the Deal, Mr. Trump says he walks into a room where he is going to be negotiating, and he becomes the biggest asshole in the room until A, he gets what he wants, or B, the other party leaves. Well, guess what? Mr. Zelensky left. Now, I predicted the U.S. would be hearing from the world within 24 hours. It's been almost 24 hours since I recorded and uploaded my previous video. But Mr. Zelensky has heard from the world immediately after posting his reply to Trump's treatment of him on X. And all the liberal democracies of the world, from Europe and Canada and elsewhere, have commented that they support Ukraine in some fashion. And Mr. Zelensky took the time to answer each country individually and say, "Thank you, I'm grateful." But some Republicans are still holding town halls, even though they have been told not to by both the Senate and the House not to do so. But I guess these were already scheduled and they couldn't get out of them, or they didn't know about the disastrous interview in the Oval Office. But according to the TV news I watched, these Republicans who were questioned in their town halls about the Ukraine war basically deflected, distracted, or stammered out answers that they didn't want to answer their constituents' questions about Ukraine, that they were here for other reasons. Can't imagine what those other reasons could be. I think the press is eating this up. I think they're glad Trump is back in office. Trump is good for business. His chaotic behavior creates sales, views, and money because people are checking their local and federal newspapers and websites and newscasts to find out what is going to happen next. Trump is trying to turn this into a reality TV show, and I guess he's succeeding. But I don't think that we really want the legacy press creating their narrative about what happened, trying to create news only from their point of view, putting a positive spin on Mr. Trump's behavior, despite the fact that he is obviously deteriorating. I mean, just go look at him on January 20th and then go look at his latest presser from any of the last few days. But do you think that the press would lie to us? I do. So, but anyway, kind of going sideways here to get to my point. Mr. Trump has never served in the military. Back in 1973, the use of the draft ended. Registration for the draft has not. When a boy turns 18, he is required to register for the United States military draft. But now, that draft has not been used since 1973, well over 70 years. So now we have an all-volunteer army, although it is still the poor who are mostly, except for the ones that were college educated and are serving out their repayment terms in the military. But it's the young and the poor who are still our cannon fodder. They're not warriors. They are just something to feed into the machine. I mean, I'm a child of the 60s. I grew up with the news showing the horrors of Vietnam War every single night from when I can remember 1960 or 61 all the way up to 1972 when Nixon withdrew us disastrously from Vietnam, leaving behind many of our translators, the wives of servicemen, our workers who helped us, just like they have done in every other war that I can remember watching as they fled a country, leaving behind the very people who helped us. But Mr. Trump never served in Vietnam. He got out of it because he had bone spurs. Mr. Cadet Bone Spurs, I believe, as Tammy Duckworth likes to call him. So, he is a rich man from a rich family who bought his way out of the Vietnam War with a medical diagnosis that said he didn't have to go due to bone spurs. Now, the poor, unlike the rich, were unable to obtain deferments, and they were the cannon fodder of that grisly war. As a kid, we heard stories around the neighborhood from our friends about older siblings or fiancés of young women who had died in the war. And the heartbreak for those families cannot be explained away. But I guess Donald Trump was too good to do his patriotic duty like so many young men had to do, because he is a rich man from a rich family that doesn't give a flying F. my brother served in the military from, I believe, the late 70s through the early 90s. I think he did 2 tours in the Middle East. I haven't called and confirmed that with him, so I'm not sure, but I believe it was 2. Now, my father was drafted for Korea, but due to medical problems, he was not able to go. And both my grandfathers, due to the age when men were drafted into World War I and World War II, they were the wrong age. Too young for one, too old for the other. And as I said, our God King, Mr. Trump, has never served. He has no idea about the horrors of war, the impact on civilian populations, and the horror that our soldiers go through. I will not pretend I understand it. I will not pretend I know anything about anything I've seen beyond TV shows and movies. Wings, which is a 1929 silent film, the first film ever to show the horrors of war from World War I was made in 1929. The war ended in 1919. But still, they did show the impact of war on the men serving. So, now, let's see. Now, men and women have served our country for 2 centuries. And any country that has had war knows the impact on their military, on the men and women who serve. They deserve our respect. And all I can say is RESPCET, respect to those who have served in war, both the men and the women. But meanwhile, Peter Hegseth, our Secretary of Defense, not our Secretary of War, wants to turn our military into a warrior culture. Now, Mr. Hegseth did serve in the Marines. I don't know what his tour of duty was. I don't have the notes about it in front of me. I'm sorry. But he has never served in a position handling any organization that comes close to the size of our military. He knows nothing about large budgets. He knows nothing about working with military and civilian employees of the Pentagon. He knows nothing about handling or negotiating contracts with the military-industrial complex, the companies that create our war machines and provide supplies from hammers to toilet paper to food to our military. But still he wants that warrior culture. He wants to whiteify our military and promote white nationalism. He wants to remove women. Now, as a sidebar, women have always served in war, whether they were camp followers of ancient times, nurses, spies, even women disguised as men to be soldiers. This has never changed. Removing women from the military will only disrupt services that they provide as office clerks, as drivers, as pilots, as nurses, as essential personnel to our military. And the other thing they really want to do is remove DEI. the same thing. They will be removing talent. They will be removing specialized employees. They will be removing the very thing that brings diversity to our military. But Mr. Hegseth doesn't want that. I think right after World War II, based on the incredible services provided by the segregated black soldiers and pilots brought to World War II with their service, that Hoover decided to integrate the military after World War II. And Mr. Hegseth and Mr. Trump want to reverse all this. But what do I know? I'm just a woman. I'm just an ancient grandma who never served in the military, knows nothing about serving in the military. I've had friends, women, men. I've had dear friends leave to serve in the Middle East and come back with traumatic brain injuries. I've had friends, children, serve in various military actions, and they also have come back with traumatic brain injuries, traumatic stress disorder. I can't even describe the number of problems that have affected returning veterans from the horrors of war. Again, I can't say because I don't know and I don't understand. But please explain it to me in the comments, not because I'm being an asshole here, but to help me and the rest of us who truly don't understand what it means to be a member of our military. But meanwhile, last week on Fox News, Caroline Levvit, Trump's youngest press secretary to ever serve in that position, was on Fox News saying our new regime is having fun. They like the chaos. They like the disruption. They are enjoying what they are doing. They are glad to see Elon Musk, dictator and traitor to our country, and his ragged little band of hackers who now have access to our private data, to hollow out our government by cutting funding, closing agencies, firing hundreds of thousands of employees, canceling the contracts the government has already agreed to, and trying to end leases on buildings or outright sell buildings which they claim the government doesn't need or isn't using. But I guess disrupting government service, upending thousands of people's lives means nothing because they're having fun. Are we having fun? I don't think so. And the impact of these layoffs will affect local economies. And how is that going to happen? Well, government employees are spread all over the United States. They will, in some cases, these government services are the primary employer in some areas. So the impact is going to be staggering. Not all local economies are going to be able to pick up the unemployed government workers, or just aren't going to be enough jobs to go around. And in turn, these government employees who no longer have jobs are going to be doing everything they can to conserve money, which means they are not going to be spending it. If they aren't spending, in turn that means local businesses who got their money are going to see slowdowns in their own businesses. They are going to be spending less money on supplies. And in turn, will probably have to lay off some or all of their employees. Some will even close. So, are we having fun yet? Destroying lives and local economies? Trump has been president for all of 5 weeks. Remember, he was sworn in on January 20th, and I am recording this today, March 1st. So, what has he managed to accomplish in this time? Well, 1. He has destroyed our 80-year-old alliances. 2. Sided with Russia and promoted Putin's ideals. Didn't Saint Reagan say, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear that wall down"? Isn't he the one who overspent our federal budget trying to bring the end to the era of communist rule in Eastern Europe? I guess Trump never studied history, so he doesn't know history, and I most certainly doubt that he would remember anything by any Republican president, even St. Reagan, although now the Republican Party belongs to Trump and his ilk. Let's see. 3. He has promoted nationalism, white nationalism, Christian nationalism, fascism, and eugenics. Nothing like bringing back a little bit of ancient history from the turn of the 20th century. And here we are in the 21st century, bringing back these disgusting concepts and notions of superiority and lack of said. Let's see. He has proposed a 4.5 trillion tax cut for the zillionaire class, the top 1%. At a time when our government is running record deficits, he's not going to raise taxes on the rich. He's going to cut the taxes and try to balance that on the back of the poor. So to do that, he will be cutting the social safety net. That includes SNAP and cutting Medicaid, screwing over the poor, which will of course mostly affect red states. And guess what? Trump voters are in those red states. And more Trump voters are in economic need than the same voters in blue states. Now, we only have 7 blue states, and this country has 50 states. So, what are the blue states doing wrong where they are sending more money to the federal government in the form of income tax? What are they doing wrong when states like California are economic powerhouses compared to the states that formally make up the Confederacy of the Deep South, and of course the agricultural states of the West? But I don't know. Someone tell me in the comments what I got wrong. And 6. The economic downturn he's creating. It was predicted that we would start seeing the effects of that in April to mid-May. I think it's coming a lot quicker than anybody projected. And 7. This isn't specifically something Trump has done yet, but I have heard that it is in one of the many presidential orders, executive orders, that he plans on writing in the very near future. But the Republicans have sent a letter to the FDIC, that is the people who regulate the banks and insure our accounts. They want the banks to start closing people's accounts. Accounts some people need and have had for many years, but they call this unbanking. They want to force these people into these online, unregulated banks run by companies like hedge funds. They charge more transaction fees than banks do, and they are not regulated, nor is your money insured. So why don't we just send the people that the banks don't like to the unregulated banks of the online age. Now, personally, I'm a big fan of credit unions and community banks, but we will wait and see whether or not these new rules are going to affect credit unions and small community banks. Let's see. Oh, I missed one. Here we go. 8. The 25% tariffs are going to go into effect on March 4th. Happy birthday to me. Prices are going to climb. And so, Caroline Levvit, Trump's press secretary, has said, Trump and his sycophants are having fun. Are you? I'm not. Did you vote for this? Well, it doesn't really matter whether you did or not. It's affecting all of us. And in this morning's news, I heard that 242,000 people have applied for unemployment, and that this is coming quicker than expected. So, call or email your federal Congress critters and do the same with your local and state legislators. Register to vote. Then go vote. Less than 30% of the registered voters voted in the last election, and that was a presidential year. So, be the difference. Thank you. I'm Kathy, the Celtic Mink.